Welcome to another Warmaster's Workshop tutorial. In this episode, we're going to be creating a padding for the inside of our helmet using the Wizard of Flight Mandalorian templates, Mandalorian helmet templates, and some 3mm sticky back EVA foam. And basically what we're going to be doing is creating a padding that goes all the way around the inside of the helmet and then one here in the top center. So that is our objective with this specific episode. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut out the templates that we need. It's actually not many, it's only about 3. So we're going to use the cheekbones, or what's listed as the cheekbone. It's the upper and lower mandibles on the helmet. And we're just going to cut those out real quick. Alright, so there's our cheek patterns. And remember, you can always just flip these from right to left, depending on what piece you're cutting out. And then this is the inner surface template. We're just going to cut one of these because then we can flip it and we're good to go. And we don't really need this line here. So we'll take all that out and just have the raw outline of the templates. So now we'll get our EVA foam and we'll transfer these over to the EVA foam and cut. Three, 2, 1, action. Here we have our EVA foam padding. I've got several sheets. I bought this in a bundle. I think I got 10 of these square sheets, and it was like $20. So you get quite a bit, and as you can see, they're nice and thick, but they're also padding, so they do squish in. Well. This is the sticky, the protector for the sticky. These are supposed to be the extra sticky pads. So behind this is sticky back. We don't want to take this paper off until we have everything cut out. So let's go ahead and we're going to trace out our mandibles. I'm just using a ballpoint pen here. Make sure you're using a good ballpoint pen, one that glides nice and easily. And I'm actually going to go right to the line there, right to the edge, right here. And we'll trace. Yeah, we're going to end up with a little bit of off-cut over there, but that's okay. We may need that. Alright. Now I'm just going to use my X-Acto knife to trim this. The great thing about X-Acto knives is they just glide right through EVA foam. Just like that. Just gliding right through it. Look at that. It's perfect. It's a perfect cut. If you've got little stringers there, you can just use the X-Acto knife to sort of trim those off. But there you got a nice, perfectly cut cheek. This is an offcut, so we'll put that to the side for now. And let's go ahead and get these 2 cut out. Alright. So let's go ahead and cut this one out. And I'm actually going to take my time and be somewhat meticulous with this, so I'm going to have to do more than one cut. I'm not going to go all the way through on the first pass. Let me lower this down here so you can see as I cut this. So I'm going to go for pass number 2 here. The great thing is if you're cutting on a surface, like I have this portable little wood surface here, you can tell once you've reached the bottom because you'll feel the drag of the material underneath. And I always say use wood, because if you use wood, there's very little chance of you dulling your blades. If you don't use wood and use something like metal or stone or something like that, I don't know why you'd use stone, but I guess if you're leather cutting, you're going to dull the heck out of your X-Acto knives. They're not going to last long, and that's going to cost you some money. So make yourself a little wood cutting board. Actually, you could use a cutting board, just like you use for food. You could even use a plastic one. But you could go and get yourself a cheap wood cutting board at the local retail store, Walmart, whatever you got. I wouldn't go to like Williams and Sonoma and get a nice wood cutting board there. But just go get a cheap wood cutting board, and that gives you a nice cutting surface where you don't dull your blades. Alright, and then let me give this a little cut there. Looks like one more time. There we go. And then here, just to square this up. Alright, so we've got one done. So we're going to set that over to the side. Now we're going to at least get the lower cheek. And then we'll come back and we'll do the upper mandible. Now I use an EVA pad insert in my Starbreaker helmet, and I actually have it made so that it's got all the electronics wired through it. It actually works out pretty well. You could do something similar with this, with the 3mm, especially the sticky back, because you can stick two pieces on top of each other. You could carve a piece out, stick it on there, and make your circuit, like your little circuit routes out of that. All right, so let me set this to the side and pull the camera back up a little bit more. We're going to do a quick... There we go. This is the way we want it. Bring that down a bit. All right. You want to trace gently because your ballpoint pen will sink through the backing paper if you're not careful. You really don't want that. So gently trace. All right. And if you use a good sharp X-Acto knife like this one, it's just going to glide, as I said before, it's just going to glide right through. Effortlessly. There we go. Words. Now, this EVA foam comes in different colors. I tend to like the black just because it doesn't show everything under the sun. Alright, so there is our top and bottom mandible pads. So let's set them off to the side now that they're done. Now we've got to do, I'm going to set our patterns over here too. Actually, let's set our right there like that. So now we need to do this. And this is just going to fit. And again, I'm going to take it right to the edge there because I want it to, I don't want to have to cut 4 edges. I'd rather just cut 3. It's called time saving. Good time management. Alright, so there's that one. Now we're not going to make the mistake we did earlier. I'm not going to make 2 going the same way. That would not be good. So I'm going to set that under my cutting board. Alright, just like that. And one more cut here. Perfect. And then we have our 2 inside pieces. So now what we're going to do is we're going to prep our helmet. I'm going to take this little, there we go, a little bit off right there. So let's prep our helmet and get it ready to stick these pads into. So we have we've taken some acetone and a cloth, and we've went around the inside because this helmet does have a significant amount of paint on the inside. So I went, yes, and I took some acetone and I cleaned up these inner walls where we're going to be sticking these templates. I wanted to get them nice and fairly smooth so that the sticky back would adhere, at least at the lower levels here, right around this, the bottom part of the brow that you can see where I'm pointing at right here, the bottom half. I wanted to make sure that it adhered nicely right down through there. So I did that all the way around the inside of the helmet, even at the T area. Now, the other thing that I've got is a heat gun, okay? Because when we stick this in, it's going to need to be heated up a little bit and pushed, to sort of take on the shape of the inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and at least get this started. And of course your padding here is going to kind of crease a little bit, and that's fine if it does. It's not a problem. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to smash it down really nice and really tight up against the helmet. One thing you want to take into consideration is the let me see if I can move this camera here a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. There we go. Right here where the vents are, we're going to have to cut that out. So I'm going to trim it to about right here. Go up a little further. Yep, right about there. So now, just going to zip right across, just like that. Pull this out. Perfect. And then, because I need to be able to kind of split this in the middle, first, for right now, I'm just going to take this and cut it right there, just like that. So now I know exactly where the padding is going to fit on the opposite side. And see, that's the thing. What you're doing is when you have it on this side and you're cutting it here, you're basically fitting it on this side so that you can transfer it over to this side. Just like that. Just like that. So let's go ahead and pull this backing off of here. Oh yeah, you can feel that there's definitely some stickiness there. Just like that. Now you can trim this and pull it off here, but we'll get to that. So now the next thing, since we already know where this ends up, I'm not going to worry about measuring this on the opposite side. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull this up a little bit on this back side here. Go ahead and pull the rest of it off. I hope that you can see exactly what I'm doing. Remember, you still got to put a visor in here, so you don't want to make it so that you block your visor out. So we're going to have to trim. I'm going to trim right up in here. Trim it a little bit more. Now, when we go to put our visor in, all we have to do is we can pull this up and stick our visor in there. and then stick our padding back down. That padding is re-stickable, so now for this part here, we may actually have to trim this piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by pulling this off. And I'm just going to work this around. Looks like I'm going to need to do a little bit of trimming here, so let me pull this down just a touch. We'll go from this side. There we go, just like that. Push that down. And there we have our cheek fully padded. When we get ready to put our visor in, we can just pull this up and then re-stick it back down. It pulls up fairly easy, and it sticks back down just as easy. Let's trim off this little bit right here. There we go. Now let's go ahead and do this other side. This piece is stuck in really nicely. I did a real quick trim right here above the key slot so I can put the other half in. Down here at the bottom, or at the, I shouldn't say at the bottom, but at the faceplate, looks pretty good. We need to trim a little bit right here, and that's what I'm going to do right now. Just gonna, you can see where it sort of comes up here. Just gonna do a quick, very light trim right across here, just so that we stay relatively consistent with how this the padding edge is all the way around. So there we go. Pull that off. Perfect. Then we're going to cut this little nib off right here. There we go. We've got some nice padding on this side. So let's go ahead and do the other side. So now we know where we want this piece to go now. Since we have the other piece in, we know how we want it to sit, and we know where we want to trim it. So let's go ahead and move the camera in here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to fold this right here. I'm going to mark that with my pen. Just like that. Hopefully it came out well. So let's pull this out. Let's set the helmet back here. Well, it didn't really come out much at all, but that's all right because I can see where it's at. So we're just gonna give that a light cut. Go right on through. Boom. Just like that. All right, so now let's go back to our helmet. Put this back in. Actually, we need to cut that even a little bit more. Alright, so I can see here, and I'm actually going to put a little cut right there. Work my way down, just like that. Getting this nice and straight is half the fun. And it doesn't have to really be perfect. So what I'm going to do now is just come right down like this. That way I can see exactly what's left to cut. It looks like, for the most part, we just need to make a cut that runs right along here. Go up a little more. There we go. Just like that. And then we're going to come down just like that. We're going to pull this out. And there you have it. You've got your key slots are exposed here for airflow. And we will end up backing these with probably some mesh. So let's go ahead and I'm going to pull our sticky back off here. And then starting right here, we're going to work this in. To match our padding on the other side. Just like that. Look how perfect that looks. Doesn't that look nice? Alright, so let's get this part here, our mandible. Just like we did before. Remove some of these rogue pieces here, because there's a little bit of sticky removed off some of that stuff, and it gets everywhere very easily. So like we did before, I'm going to go ahead and pull my sticky off here. Then I'm going to position this right down the edge of the helmet. Remember that we're going to end up lifting this for the visor anyway, but still want to put it in the position it's going to be in. And then just like we did on this side, we're going to cut it. I don't want to cut into the other padding. It looks like I need to bring it in a little bit more. There we go. Just like that. Make sure we get all that. Yep, nice and cut out. I'm going to check this side just to make sure. Yep, that is similar. This side needs just a little spot of cleanup here. go. Now we've got our padding in on this side. Now remember that this is going to stick. You're going to see this is lifting a little bit here. Whoop. There we go. This is actually going to stick on the visor here, so I'm not really worried about that lifting at the moment. All right, so now let's go with this side, this piece. Let's stick that right there. Go ahead and pull off my sticky back. And just stick this all around here. And then we're going to cut just like that. Pull that out. Just like that. Perfect. And then let's square this up. All right, so now that we've got the what I call the crown padding in, which is the for the top of your head, we want to put a little bit of padding around the edge here so that so that the helmet stays snug on your head. And to do that, what I've done is I've cut 4 strips of this the same foam. This is still the 3mm sticky back EVA, but this is actually 1 inch by 10 inch, so they come in 10-inch blocks or 10 by 10, and I had enough scraps left over to cut off 1 inch strips of this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put this. We're going to stick a couple of these right around the side. We're probably going to have to trim them a little bit, but that's what we're going to use to. That's what's going to keep this on our head. And what we're going to do is we're going to go just north of the visor. See where the visor is in here? Now that we've got the visor in, we're going to start just north of the top of the visor. So let me see if I can position my camera here to where you're going to be able to see this really well. So we're going to start right here. I know that might be a little hard to see, but we're just going to turn it over this way so that I can mark it. Alright, so we got to get it to the half, which we did. Halfway point is right. Halfway point is right here where this fold is. I don't know if you can see that right there, where that fold is that I made. So let's go ahead and cut that. Give it a good straight cut. There we go. Move that block out of the way. So let's go ahead and start sticking this in. Bring my camera down a little bit more. There we go. I want to try to keep it nice and straight. There we are. sure you push down on this so that it gets a nice firm seal. Alright, so now let's take another one of these strips. I'm just going to flip the helmet over this way. We're going to measure this out. Right here on this fold right here is where we want to cut. Let's give it 1, 2, and we'll cut. And now let's go ahead and take our sticky back off. Put our helmet back in. Make sure you got it turned the right way. And again, just north of the visor. Now at this point, you're going to want to try the helmet on and see how it fits, which I'm actually going to do. And what we're going to do is we're going to see how snug this fits against our head and if it might need some more padding. We've got a couple more strips if we need to use them, okay? So let's try this on and see how it feels. Okay, so we tried the helmet on and it definitely needs more padding. So let's do another one, just like we did before. Turn it upside down so that you can use the folds here to kind of mark where it needs to be cut. Alright, so this one is going to get cut. And be careful if you use a razor knife. They are super sharp. The great thing about this is you can stick it right over the top of the other one. Just make sure you press down nice and hard so that they bond well. Now let's get the other side. It's okay if it doesn't reach all the way to the edge. That's fine. There's no rules against that or anything. If it doesn't fit all the way to the edge, it's not a big deal. And honestly, if you measure it, you probably want to measure this piece just a little bit over, because when you put it in, it's actually going to contract a little bit. Alright, there we are. Give this a cut right here on this fold. Alrighty. Now let's take this off. Just like we did on the other side, make sure you line it up nicely. Alright, so let's try that on, see if that's a tighter fit. Alright, so the sides here feel pretty tight. Now we need to put a little bit of extra padding on our front piece here. So let's just use some of the blocks that we've already cut, some of the offcuts from these strips. When you put the pieces on the visor here, you don't want to cover any of the viewing area of the visor. You want to make sure you stick it over the brow piece that's there. Now we can put this right here. There we go. Now we're going to try this on again and see if it fits nice and tight. What we did off camera was we ended up having to add a third layer right here. So we've got 1, 2, 3 layers that we've added, and then we took all of our offcut pieces and we layered those to make our padding for our brow area, for our forehead. And now this helmet fits really tight. I mean, not so tight that you get a headache, but it is snug, so it stays on your head. Now, if you find that you have too much, or you have I don't want to say too much hair, but if you find that you have a lot of hair, and you've put your padding in, what you can do is, if you're using the layered method like this, and you've let your hair grow out or whatever, and you find it's too tight now, you can just pull these layers out, and that will widen the available area in the helmet for your head. And this is nice and snug. You put this on, and your helmet will not wobble around. You will want to make sure that you have some fans or something in here, because EVA padding, it is an insulator, so it will get a little warm in here. But that is our EVA padding. It's very easy to do. It comes out looking really nice, and it is somewhat adjustable so that you can tailor it based on the shape of your head. So thanks for joining us for this month's Warmasters Workshop. I want to give a special shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. You're the ones that help keep the workshop going, so thanks for that. And we'll keep popping out these tutorials every month. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time in the Warmasters Workshop.